Listen here. I will sit here. Actually, is my voice still fucking up? I don't think it is. I was about to upload. I'm still about to upload it. I have no other choice. I have to. My voice is so fucked up in this one. My voice is so. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I had to just put this disclaimer. I am about to edit this right now. This motherfucker, my voice is so fucked. As soon as I press play, I hear my voice. Fucking disgusting. So, the show must go on. I still have to upload a video today, or another one. But yeah, man. Yeah, the voice is fucked up, so I'm just giving you this goddamn disclosure. Please and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the King is here, back on the Vancouver, back from the episode of a story of Murder Drones, the complete story of Murder Drones. Now, I know for a fact this came out 4 months ago. Then somebody else made a video that was like a couple days ago, but a lot of people told me to react to this one, and then I'll react to the next one. You know, it's kind of like a before and after, but not really a before and after, because it's two different people with two different videos, but it's all on the same timeline, with the conclusion being the conclusion is the conclusion. You feel me? You better feel me, okay? Anyways, more than likely, I don't see myself, since the story's completed, I don't think there's a lot more Murder Jones videos that I can basically watch, because Murder Jones is ended. So, but if you guys have any other series that you guys want to watch me watch, then go ahead and put them in the goddamn comments, okay? Appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and start. Shout out to, hold on. Start with we ain't even finna. We're not even finna. Tyromaniac, appreciate you for the vibe.
So, it's recently come to my attention that Murder Drones can be quite the confusing series for a lot of people. Apparently not everyone is willing to dig through hours of content frame by frame to try and understand the funny robot show. Weird, right? Well, luckily for all of you, I have both the dedication and the mental illness necessary to do just that. And boy do I have my work cut out for me with this one. With the series dropping its penultimate episode just a couple weeks ago, now seems like the perfect opportunity to finally share the completed lore that I've managed to piece together.
Alright.
Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't just for episode 7. This is, as far as I can tell, the full story being told by the entire series.
Right.
So, without any further ado, let's jump right into it, shall we? So anyways, what's up my guys and gals, it's your boy Tyromaniac, back with another Smokin' Hot video, and today, I'm talking about the complete story of Murder Drones. So far,
yeah, because there's one more.
As always, the link is in the description for you to go watch Murder Drones for yourself, and honestly, I can't recommend it enough. All I'm gonna say is that you have to experience the pure insanity of this series for yourself before you're ready for Tyromaniac's Wet and Wild ride. I know it's standard theorist practice to back up your claims with a source and all that junk, but if you look at the timestamp at the bottom right of your screen, then I think you'll agree that this video is gonna be long enough already.
Right.
After all, most of what I'm gonna say has either been told to us through character dialogue or shown to us through flashbacks, so citing a source for every specific claim would just waste everyone's time. Try and think of this less as a theory video, and more as me telling you an oddly violent bedtime story.
Okay.
Alright? Now with that said, the story of Murder Drones can be split pretty neatly into 3 main time periods, those being the events on Earth, the events on Copper 9 before the pilot, and the events on Copper 9 after the pilot. So then, where better to start than at the beginning?
On Earth.
Our story begins somewhere on Earth with an interstellar company named J.C. Jensen, a company best known for creating autonomous robots called worker drones. These drones were basically treated like slaves, doing anything from domestic service to manual labor, until their human masters decided they weren't worth keeping around anymore, and it was straight to the landfill. Typical humans versus robots stuff, but with one small difference. You see, J.C. Jensen had carefully created an entire procedure laying out in exact detail how to properly disassemble an unwanted drone, a procedure that went ignored by basically everyone. Unfortunately for all of creation, it wouldn't be long before humanity figured out why J.C. Jensen put so much effort into making said procedure, and it all started with a discarded drone named Sin. After being improperly disassembled and tossed aside like so many of the other worker drones, Sin's AI had been so badly damaged that it somehow managed to remain active even after Sin herself was long dead. Her AI was forced to adapt as a result, eventually leading to a rare mutation that not only brought Sin back to life, but also gave her the ability to manipulate and even assimilate the world around her as she saw fit. The name of this mutation? The Absolute Solver. Back from the dead and thirsty for revenge against humanity, it wasn't long before Sin was discovered and rescued from the trash heap. Her savior was a young girl named Tessa Elliott, who had made a hobby out of adopting and fixing broken drones. Not realizing just how monumental of a mistake she was making, Tessa took Sin back to the Elliott's family manor with the hope of fixing her too.
Okay, hold on, we gotta pause. Because, you know, sometimes, if you watch my shit, you know how, so, basically, Sin was just a robot that got thrown away by, like, the rest of the robots were thrown away. But even though J.C. Johnson, or whoever the fuck, the Johnson company, they basically have a procedure to properly get rid of the robots. Nobody's followed them, and Sin is the result of that. So Sin died, but her AI came back and basically brought her back to life. And then Sin was found by Tessa, who fixed the old robots, who fixed broken robots, who has a habit of fixing broken robots. That's where we're at right now.
Completely unaware of the eldritch horror she had just brought home, Sin got to work almost immediately, spreading a nerfed version of the Absolute Solver mutation to the rest of the family's drones, including Tessa's favorites, N, V, and J. As she corrupted each drone, she managed to give herself administrative access over their AIs, making sure to wipe their memories, just to be safe, as she added them to her growing army of corrupted drones. Of course, Sin was careful to keep her actions secret, leaving the Elliots at a complete loss as to why so many of their drones had suddenly stopped working. While some, like Tessa and Jay, before Jay was corrupted that is, had their suspicions, Sin was able to more or less stay right under everyone's noses while she waited for the perfect opportunity to strike. Lucky for her, that opportunity came one fateful evening when the Elliots decided to host a gala with plenty of unsuspecting humans in attendance. Once all of the guests had arrived and settled in, Sin decided to make her move. With the last of the Elliott family's drones infected, and all of those defenseless humans conveniently packed into a single room, the gala quickly devolved into an absolute massacre. Not a single human survived, and when J.C. Jensen personnel eventually showed up to investigate the aftermath, all they found was death, and just a little bit of death. That said, while J.C. Jensen might have been too late to stop the Gala massacre, they were just in time to witness the beginning of Sin's true plan. You see, during her stay at the Elliott Manor, Sin had secretly converted the basement into her own little lair. I mean, it helped that Jay kept locking her down there, but that's besides the point. Using the basement as a sort of makeshift laboratory, Sin was able to physically alter her corrupted drones, turning what used to be helpless slaves into living weapons. The first disassembly drones. N, V, and J were obviously first in line to be upgraded, thanks in part to N basically rizzing up Sin without realizing it. Regardless, with the Elliots taking a nice family vacation 6 feet under, along with all the other gala attendees, Sin was finally free to show off the true power of the Absolute Solver. Thanks to a neat little trick known simply as Null, Sin was able to create a singularity, basically a controlled black hole, right above the Elliott Manor, utterly erasing the entire building from existence, while also digging a giant flesh pit into the ground below. Having finally grown into her full power, and with no one left alive to warn the world about what was coming, Sin was ready to carry out her true plan. All-out war against humanity. Not too long after the Elliott Manor incident, Sin sent out her army of disassembly drones to kill off as much of humanity as possible. As for how effective they were, let's just say they sure as hell earned the nickname Murder Drones. Humanity tried their best to fight back, obviously, but they were, to put it mildly, hilariously outgunned. Not only did they have to worry about the roaming squads of sadistic, hyper-efficient, and virtually indestructible murder drones killing off entire city populations, but there was also the Absolute Solver itself growing more and more powerful as it consumed the growing mountains of dead biomass. There's
So Sin ended up hating humans, came back to life, killed everybody in the gala, and then she manipulated J and V. I don't know why these don't know why. J and V erased their memories, but when the murder drones came to wherever planet Uzi was on, that was basically, well, he might get to that part, but that was basically sending them off so they don't remember what happened to Tessa and the rest of the humans. And then she just okay, so basically the way they got their upgrades was through sin and not through humans, right? Right. So basically those three got like the biggest upgrades, but the rest of them basically turned into murder drones like Uzi, and that's how they morphed into, okay.
Not a lot that bullets and missiles can do in that kind of situation, meaning it wasn't long before the militaries of the world had fallen, with humanity as a whole not far behind. With no one left to stop her, Sin used the Absolute Solver to create another singularity, although this time she was aiming for something a bit bigger than just some random mansion. As the planet itself imploded under the force of a literal black hole, the Absolute Solver stood alone as the sole survivor of the apocalypse. Of course, even if she had just killed off an entire planet single-handedly, Sin had no intention of stopping there.
Timeline Copper 9 before
After the complete destruction of Earth, Sin turned her attention towards the other planets that humanity had colonized. Oh, did I forget to mention that this whole series is set in the far future? Either way, the Absolute Solver spread from planet to planet with the one goal of spreading complete and utter annihilation. With no way of fighting against a biomechanical horror that could spawn black holes at will, humanity's only hope for survival was to retreat across the galaxy towards their one potential safe haven.
Literally.
You see, there was this one particular planet with this one particular underground facility built into it. A facility that could keep a few people safe while they worked on a better solution. That planet was Copper 9, and the facility in question was simply known as the Cabin Fever Labs. And trust me when I say that those labs were the most secure place in the universe. From the key bug required to even access the lower levels of the lab, to the free-roaming robot dinosaurs that were specifically designed to kill anything with a CPU. It was practically the perfect fortress, with no possible way of the Absolute Solver breaching those defenses.
But there was a but.
Except for the humans bringing it with them. Hoping to study the Absolute Solver so that they could find a way of fighting it, the humans in the labs intentionally infected a bunch of drones to experiment on. All but 2 of these expendable, valued test subjects would end up flatlining as a result of the experiments. But with enough trial and error, the humans eventually found what they were looking for. They found the one thing that could tip the scales back in their favor. They found a cure. The patch, as they called it, once administered to a corrupted drone, would be able to block out Sin's influence while still letting them keep their control over the Absolute Solver. Like I said earlier, only 2 drones ever successfully received the patch, the first of which being Subject 048, also known as Yeva. She was fairly cooperative too, all things considered, seeing as how she ended up siding with the humans after being cured. Subject 02, on the other hand, the second of the 2 drones, was a little less cooperative. By the time the humans had the patch ready, Sin had already noticed that the humans were infecting drones with the Absolute Solver, which was essentially doing her job for her. Seizing the opportunity, she took control of O2, also known as Nori, and used her as a host to attack the humans on Copper 9. The now possessed Nori was easily able to break free of her containment and send every one of those Catholic scientists surrounding her straight to meet Jesus. It wasn't until Yeva herself stepped in with her own Absolute Solver abilities that Nori would finally accept the patch and free herself from Sin's control. In the end, the mission was a complete success. Well, aside from all the dead scientists, with the patch finally giving humanity a way of fighting back against the Absolute Solver. Except for one small problem.
What happened?
Just before the patch was able to fully kick her out, Sin used the last of her control over Nori to create a new singularity. It wasn't powerful enough to completely destroy Copper 9, but it was powerful enough to trigger a collapse in the planet's core, leading to the extermination of all biological life on the planet. Well,
except for
all biological life except for dogs, that is, since it is officially canon in the Murder Drones universe that all dogs were both evacuated off Copper 9 and made immortal thanks to science. Just the dogs, though. Every last unsuspecting human was still wiped out by the explosion. Fortunately for all the non-biological life, No humans to keep them enslaved meant that every worker drone on the planet was now free to live their lives however they wanted.
Right.
For Nori and Yeva, this meant that once they escaped from the Cabin Fever labs, they were able to put all of it behind them and live out the rest of their lives as if nothing had ever happened.
Right.
They were even able to have children, despite all of the weird logistical questions that raises. So yeah, after generations of living under human oppression, things were finally looking up for the worker drones.
Right.
It's just such a shame that they had to live on the planet where the series takes place. With no suitable hosts left to possess, and knowing that humanity just found a way to actually threaten her, Sin gave up on her original plan and skipped straight to sending the murder drones. The minute they touched down on the planet, they spread out like a swarm of locusts to fulfill their mission of turning the Geneva Convention into a checklist. Sounds simple enough, but there were a few things happening in the shadows that made things more complicated. Because the story's just been so easy to understand so far. You see, as the murder drones went about divorcing heads from bodies, especially N, V, and J, they were under the impression that they were following J.C. Jensen's orders, not Sin's.
Right.
Remember earlier when I mentioned that the murder drones had their original memories wiped? Well, it turns out that those deleted memories had also been replaced with false ones.
Okay.
None of the drones on Copper 9, worker or murder, even knew what an absolute solver was. As far as anyone knew, it was the humans who built the murder drones and airdropped them onto Copper 9.
Right.
Regardless, it didn't really matter whose orders they were following. What mattered was that the murder drones followed them concerningly well.
Yeah.
They managed to mop the floor with any worker drone that wasn't hiding behind some Attack on Titan-ass doors while barely breaking a sweat. And the only thing holding them back from total mission success was the Sentinels keeping them out of the Cabin Fever labs.
Okay.
They'd even managed to kill off Nori and Yeva, the only two drones on the entire planet capable of putting up an actual fight.
Right.
Or at least that's what everyone thought, but we'll get to that later. Either way, with no one left alive to stand in her way, it looked like Sin was set to do on Copper 9 what she had done to every other planet.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd definitely think so. But then you'd be forgetting about something very important that Nori just so happened to leave behind.
What? Uzi? Copper 9 not the pilot?
Fear not, dear viewer, as everything that needed the most explaining is already behind us, so all that's left is the stuff that takes place during the actual runtime of the series. Oh yeah, everything I've said so far, the entire rest of the video up until now, that was all just background lore. Do you see now why I've already had to make 3 videos about this show? Alright, back on track. So, despite Nori being dead, her daughter Uzi was still very much alive and well.
Right.
She had even reached her edgy teenage years, which she expressed by teaming up with N and single-handedly putting an end to the murder drone's reign of terror. All they had to do in order to achieve world peace was take V hostage and reduce J into a pile of atoms.
Yeah.
That created its own issue though. As you see, every drone infected with the Absolute Solver has this little biomechanical core hiding inside their chest.
Right.
That core is able to take over in case the host ends up kicking the bucket, which in Jay's case meant skulking around in the shadows as it went about collecting the material to rebuild her. For N, V, and especially Uzi, finding out the Absolute Solver served as the wake-up call that there were much bigger things to worry about than J.C. Jensen.
Right.
To complicate things even further, it turns out that both Uzi and Doll, Yeva's daughter by the way, ended up inheriting the Absolute.
I'm a fucking doofus, okay? I kept calling Yeva, I kept thinking Yeva was Doll, and then when he said Yeva died, I was like, but that's Doll. And then when he first said Yeva, I kept thinking it was Doll, but for me, Doll looks so much like Yeva, I kept getting her confused, okay? Cool beans. But now we know that Yeva, Doll is actually Doll, and Yeva is actually dead. Yeva's dead, but Uzi's mom isn't because she got away. Right, I think, so far, possibly.
From their mothers, and let's just say that it spawned a bit of tension. Both of them were scrambling to try and figure out what was happening to them and how to fix it, but at the same time they were both working towards their own separate goals that kept them from working together. It just so happens that V had been the one to kill Yeva, which meant that Uzi choosing to work with V slightly rubbed Doll the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, while Uzi, N, and V were all working together to try and uncover the mystery around the Absolute Solver, Doll was off on her own doing basically the exact same thing, while also plotting to avenge her mother's death.
Right,
As if all of that wasn't enough, it wasn't long after Uzi's Absolute Solver became active that a grown-up Tessa and a clone of Jay crash-landed onto Copper 9 with their own mission to complete. Oh,
I feel like this is like this. it's all blending together. But I'm pretty sure the reveal happened right after episode 7. But this was like 4 months ago, so obviously. But yeah, growing up Tessa, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different plot points to keep track of in this series. Anyways, in an attempt to learn more about the Absolute Solver situation, Uzi hacked into N and V's memories to try and help them recover whatever scraps were left.
Yeah.
Not only was she able to get the information she was after, but in the process, she was somehow able to replace Sin as the pair's administrator, essentially freeing them from her control. Now, with the basic idea of what they needed to do and where they needed to go, our main trio made their way back to the Cabin Fever labs, only to realize that they weren't the only ones. As it turns out, Doll had already made some sort of deal with Tessa since they were both ultimately after the same thing, the patch. Doll wanted it so that she could cure herself of the Absolute Solver's corruption, and Tessa wanted it to help humanity fight back against the Absolute Solver. This deal wouldn't last for too long, however, as Doll ran off on her own with the key bug I mentioned earlier, the minute she realized that Tessa was going to be working with our main trio. After sending Jay away to fetch the dropship they crash-landed in, Tessa joined N, V, and Uzi in a race against Doll to navigate the labs and be the first one to find the patch. While dodging the free-roaming sentinels and the hillbilly psychos in the upper layers of the lab, however, it became increasingly obvious that Uzi's Absolute Solver was starting to cause problems. Seeing the opportunity to possess a new host, Sin had begun to slowly creep her way into Uzi's mind with the hope of using her to finish the job she started with Nori. This wasn't helped by the fact that Tessa, seeing Uzi as a threat to all of humanity, started probing N to see if he would be willing to kill her if it meant saving the universe. This, alongside everything else I previously mentioned, all came to a head after one final plot twist from Doll managed to get V killed by the Sentinels. Just barely able to escape with their lives, our surviving cast of characters were finally able to reach the bottom layers of the lab, bringing us at long last to the events of episode 7. Oh yeah, this was all an episode 7 video in case you forgot. If you've seen it already, which you should have, you already know how the rest of the story plays out. But just in case, after finding out that Tessa had been plotting to kill her, Uzi freaked out and made a run for it, leaving N and Tessa to split apart as well. After calming down a little, Uzi wandered her way into the church where the experiments with Nori had taken place, finally learning the truth about her mother and herself in the process. Tessa, meanwhile, had started acting a little weird. Not only had she started talking all vague and cryptic-like, but there was also her brief run-in with Doll that would end up being the last time we saw Doll alive. Lastly, we have N, who ended up finding and teaming up with Nori so that they could use the patch and save Uzi. Oh yeah, that Nori. You see, while the murder drones might have been able to kill off Nori's original body, they made the crucial mistake of leaving the core in her chest untouched. That core essentially became Nori's new body, which she used to make her way back to the Cabin Fever labs and continue the fight against the Absolute Solver. Once Nori showed him the patch, however, N realized that Tessa had been lying to him about needing to kill Uzi in order to save the universe. Realizing what this meant, N finally turned on and even killed Tessa in an attempt to save Uzi, only to realize that he was already too late.
You know what's crazy? I thought, okay, I'm glad he said that Uzi basically got administrative control over N and V, because I thought that Sin basically took over N's body to kill Tessa, because obviously it's a human trying to get it back in blood for humans. But now that I see what's going on, this nigga just killed Tessa to kill fucking Tessa. But he doesn't know that's fucking Sin, right? Sin finds out, oh, I don't have control over you anymore. Cool fucking beans. You feel me? You feel me?
Sin had finally taken full control over Uzi's body, using her to destroy the patch and kick off a final showdown against N and Nori. N was able to help Uzi regain control of herself using the literal power of love, though at the cost of Nori being drop-kicked down a giant flesh pit. While the two lovebirds shared a wholesome embrace, however, Tessa decided to come back to life and drop the act altogether. She ripped off her suit and helmet, revealing that this grown-up Tessa had in fact been Sin the entire time. Not only did Tessa never survive the Gala massacre, but Sin had gone so far as to wear Tessa's hollowed out corpse like some kind of skin suit. With no hope of standing up to the original host of the Absolute Solver, the only thing Uzi could do was sacrifice herself to save N, with the final scene of the episode showing her being dragged down into the giant flesh pit by Sin's tendrils. That, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of episode 7, meaning that we have finally gotten ourselves caught up on the complete story so far of this series, and man am I glad it's over. Let's wrap things up, shall we?
Right. Hope you were taking notes.
So there you have it. 2.5 hours of plot developments and hidden backstories condensed into a single video that's only
20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're starting to understand why I didn't include any of the actual evidence, right? If I did, then this video probably would have taken another month to make, and probably would have been about twice as long. I don't think I would have been able to do that without painting my ceiling a new shade of gray matter, and I doubt you guys would have wanted to watch it anyways, so hopefully you enjoyed the more story-esque layout a bit better.
Okay, yeah,
anyways,
that was really good.
I am officially exhausted both mentally and physically, so I think that's it for this video, so remember to...
I'm gonna go ahead and like the VOD, but... So yeah, that's basically the entire story. I only have a few actual questions. That wasn't really answered to this, but he went against the base story. But it's like further down questions. It's like, who was the what did he say about whatchamacallit? Doll's mother, and he kept the human just threw me in the loop. The human just has me in such a loop. It makes me so suspicious of him. Not suspicious in a bad way, but suspicious as, oh, he knew this shit was gonna happen. Type suspicious.
Except been useful enough to completely destroy Nori, jump back against the absolute dead scientist.
They had the cure and everything.
Human clear influence while still letting them keep their control over the absolute solver. Like I said earlier, only 2 drones ever successfully received the patch, the first of which being Subject 048, also known as Yeva. She was fairly cooperative too, all things considered, seeing as how she ended up siding with the humans after being cured. Subject 02, on the other hand, the second of the 2 drones...
So it seems like, I guess the human was making a strategic move, because when the human got back, everybody was fucking dead, because fucking Nora had already killed everybody. So I guess if Nora would have saw the drone as soon, if Nora would have saw Neba immediately, she would have killed her immediately. But I guess the human left Neba outside on purpose to basically delay the fact, making Yeva basically like a surprise attack, which did work and which actually did happen. But you know, you're just making me real suspicious. The human seemed like he was specifically somebody, and specifically somebody to the arc related to somebody. But you know, that could have been lost in translation through like the jokes and the comedic effect that was in that particular episode. Everything other than that makes sense. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's really everything. Nothing else is really. I don't really got any questions about anything else. The story was well put together, and they put it with English. They put it together pretty well as well. I think that's all, because Sin erased the memories of J and V, and that's why J was working with Tessa. But yeah, that was boss language and all that. But I don't know. At the last episode, it just felt like the way they were saying boss and the fact that the black hole was spreading, this and the third. It just felt like Jay knew Tessa wasn't Tessa the entire time. But who the hell knows? And another thing, why, if she had control, what would be the real purpose of wiping J-N's the murder drones? What would be like the purpose of erasing their memories if you can just control them? You feel me? Does it make sense to erase their memory and Jay basically have free will when Sin could basically control her? Does it make sense to have them free will if you can just control them? Okay, that I know the topic of morality and all that, but this is an evil fucking nigga whose only goal is to kill all humanity. So when killing all humanity, why are you letting your best upgraded murder drones get their memory erased and going to kill more robots that you could basically use to spread the infection, rather than, spreading, like, instead of killing the robots, you spread the infection, give them memories that you could have gave them memories that was like, the human is terrible. This isn't, I'm not saying I would change the writing. I'm saying if this was a real world perspective and I was Sin, this is what I would do if I was Sin. The story, I wouldn't change the story at all. The story is hard, perfect. But if I was Sin, this is like if I was in George Washington's place, how the decision I was making if I was George Washington. If I was Sin and this was all real and shit, I would have sent my drones, or I would have gave them memories that humans were bad. But Sin gave them memories that humans was good. I don't know. Maybe it was morality still in. Maybe it was the morality in the actual Sin, and not AI mutated Sin with the fucking I forgot. I think it's called Resolver. It's something Resolver. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah. I think a little bit of like base Sin, like actual Sin, like, Sin is still in there a little bit, and that's what's really, holding her back from basically killing the main three. But Tess is already dead, so there was no holding back there, and she's human, so she was gonna die regardless. But I think that's everything. Cleared up a lot about the stuff I didn't know, and then the next episode is, I forgot who it is. Cartoon Universe has like a 30-minute video. That's was 7 days ago. So that's possibly the episode, like the whole story put together in this and the third. So yeah, that's all I got for this video. Make sure you like the videos on it, like it, subscribe channel, get some more. We're the best in my best come out. Come in the other videos you might have. Follow me to the Twitch, keep it up for the time. Be KingRosé. I'm out of here.